also do have the testimony here today of Heather Korbulic, because I know that she also has, like I said, her own personal story that this type of legislation would prevent others from having the same kind of experience that she had. So if we can first go to Ms. Korbulic, that would be great.
You're doing great. Korbulic.
Korbulic. Oh, I knew it.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Heather Korbulic, and I'm here today to provide personal testimony on Assembly Bill 296, and I appreciate Assemblywoman Nguyen for bringing this forward. As many of you know, in April of 2020, Governor Sisolak asked me to step into the role of the interim director for the Department of Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation, commonly known as DETR. A month beforehand, the governor had made an incredibly difficult decision and drastic decision to shut down the government, or to shut down the state of Nevada in the best interest of public health. And DETR was receiving an unprecedented number of unemployment claims as a result. With the highest rate of unemployment ever recorded in the country's history, hundreds of thousands of Nevadans found themselves filing unemployment insurance claims on a system that was never intended to scale at such a rapid pace. Nevadans were desperate to reach someone at the department to get answers to their questions and resolve issues on their unemployment claims. DETR was staffed at a level that would accommodated the state's best economy, and literally overnight, the state experienced its worst economic landscape in recorded history. Tens of thousands of Nevadans were justifiably frustrated and scared. Adding to the significant challenges that DETR was facing, Congress had just introduced a new unemployment program to support the hundreds of thousands of newly unemployed Nevadans who lost their gig employment and would not be eligible for standard unemployment insurance. Launching the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, otherwise known as PUA, was an enormous undertaking in and of itself. I knew that I'd be walking into a critically important response effort, and I knew that Nevadans were upset and they needed answers. Because I have led agencies through challenging times before, I knew that I had to make important decisions quickly. I needed to be transparent about our efforts, and I needed to constantly communicate with the public. I did my best to learn fast and move fast. I'm sorry. I apologize. I haven't had a chance to talk about this publicly. I did my best to learn and move fast, and I'm really proud of what was achieved during my short tenure, and even more proud of DETR's continued response since. Thousands of Nevadans reached out directly to me while I served as the director, and all of them had equally compelling stories of desperation and fear. Every day my heart was heavy, and I felt an overwhelming responsibility to help. A small percentage of these people targeted their anger directly at me, calling me names and slandering my reputation. An even smaller percentage of those people chose to harass and threaten me with, at the very least, the intent to scare me. Those people posted my home address and my personal phone number online with an intent to encourage and promote others to join in their harassment. They targeted me on every social media platform and every other online mechanism available to them. Some of them questioned whether I should be alive any longer. I don't remember all of the threats, thankfully, but I remember exactly how they made me feel, and it was terrifying. There are two incidents that I just want to tell you quickly about that really stand out. The first legitimate threat to my safety came during a time when my husband and children were out of town. At the time, we didn't have a security system, but we do now. A law enforcement officer spent the night parked in front of my home, and I came home that night after an exhausting day, and my neighbors walked out to ask what was happening and why was there an officer parked in front of my home. I told them about the threat, and I asked that they be on the lookout for suspicious activity. They were all loving and supportive, but they they were also very afraid for their own safety. I went inside and I called my husband and I sobbed and I told him I was done and that I couldn't live like this. He told me that I was stronger than the people who were threatening me and that he would cut short his trip and come home and install a security system. I am really grateful for his belief in me and his support. My family returned, and my children, who were used to playing in the front yard by themselves, were forbidden from leaving the house without supervision. I was so scared that someone would take them or that would hurt them. They saw my fear and it confused them and it scared them and they were angry with me. I kept my chin up and I worked as hard as I possibly could and I tried to forget. And then one day, a few weeks later, in the middle of a meeting with lawmakers, someone posted my personal cell phone number on Facebook, on a Facebook page, and within minutes I had over 100 calls and my voicemail was immediately full of hateful messages. I tried to use my phone to call Verizon to change my phone number, but I couldn't even dial out because the calls kept coming in so fast. I sat down and I wept at my desk, and I decided that I could no longer tolerate putting my family in this position, and I would not live in fear for simply trying to do my job. During this time, my close friends and family who knew what was happening sent me articles from across the country with stories of public health officials and others who were experiencing similar threats and harassment. It made me sick to read about the terrifying experiences of these dedicated civil servants who simply wanted to protect people. I'm here today doing something I didn't want to do because I really believe in what Assemblywoman Nguyen is putting forward in Assembly Bill 296. No one, under any circumstance, should be made to feel the way that my family and I felt when people were using my personally identifiable information to threaten and harass me. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather, for sharing your story. Rochelle Wynn, for the record. I believe that we can go to...
We'll just take a brief pause to thank Ms. Korbulic for having the courage to be here today and to share with us. And it is unfathomable what you have gone through, and I'm truly sorry. And I think the majority leader would also like to make a few remarks. Thank you. Assemblywoman Nguyen, are there other presenters on this bill who you'd like to
I think just briefly, we have Jolie Brislin with the Anti-Defamation League. I don't know if she's on, and I see Beth on there as well. I don't know if they have anything they'd like to say or just available for any questions.
Go ahead whenever you're ready, Ms. Brislin, or anybody else.
For the record, my name is Jolie Brislin, and I serve as a regional director of the Anti-Defamation League Nevada Regional Office. Before I get started, I just want to thank Heather so much for sharing her story. Because of her testimony today, I hope to prevent this from happening to other people. On behalf of ADL, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon in regards to AB 296. Thank you for convening today, and thank you to Assemblywoman Nguyen for your sponsorship of this bill. Founded in 1913, ADL has a timeless mission: to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatment for all. Today, more than ever, this mission's relevance endures. At ADL, we work to combat anti-Semitism, prejudice, and hate of all kinds while defending our democratic ideals and civil rights. Unfortunately, we know that hate and extremism are on a rise, and digital spaces are not immune. The disparities are stark in terms of which communities are particularly impacted by hate. According to a recent national study that ADL released, 27% of Americans experience severe online hate and harassment, defined as including sexual harassment, stalking, physical threats, swatting, doxing, and sustained harassment. Additionally, in this 2021 report, 33% of respondents attributed at least some of the online harassment they experienced to their identity, defined as their sexual orientation, religion, race, or ethnicity, gender identity, or disability. Generally, 28% of respondents reported having experienced race-based harassment. African American respondents specifically reported a sharp rise in race-based harassment, from 42% last year to 59% this year. Additionally, more than 1 in 5 Americans reported experiencing harassment based on their religion, with 57% of Muslims and 31% of Jewish respondents reporting harassment because of their religious identity. We must do more to ensure we are protecting against online hate and harassment and its consequences to individuals' personal and professional lives. Such actions include the emerging threat of doxing. ADL urges this committee to support AB 296 to address doxing in Nevada state law. If passed, this law would prohibit a person from posting another person's information online with the intent to harm them with reckless disregard of causing death, bodily injury, stalking, or mental anguish. According to ADL's 2021 report, 81% of Americans agree that laws should be strengthened to hold perpetrators of online hate accountable for their conduct. This bill empowers victims and targets of this digitally enabled hate to seek recourse. Thank you for your time and your consideration, and look forward to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Brislin, and we're ready for any questions that you might have.